How often do you raise your head from your work and sigh to the sky outside the window? How often do you feel so bored and languid that you see life as a pond of dead water? How often do you complain while watching a superhero movie? Why can't I be a hero? Apparently, once we grow to a certain age, we do not see the world around us as being interesting as when we were newly born. A multitude of questions start to haunt us and steal away our love and passion for life. However, there is a remedy at hand which you may often neglect, that is, literature. Literary works throughout the world vary from one another because of different cultural and historical backgrounds. But if you dive into them, you will find that what is discussed in those works always shares something in common. The reason is simple. We're all human beings. Whatever our original intention may have been, the words and the stories that are produced at the tip of our pens are always more or less a reflection of our own lives. Now, the importance of studying world literature is made very clear. By reading about people in different times and places, what we ultimately find out is about ourselves. Based on the stories of others, we get inspirations for revising our own stories, or in other words, our lives. Flaubert's A Simple Heart is just such an excellent example of this theory. The protagonist, Félicité, is an ordinary maid who lives a very simple life. What she experiences is so mundane and trivial that the reader may even doubt the necessity of the existence of such a character. When reading closely, however, we find so many shining points in the soul of Félicité, which overshadow the simplicity of her life and elevate her to the height of a heroine. The conscientiousness and sincerity with which she treats her life urges us readers to reflect on our own lives and make the best of them. At the very beginning of the story, Félicité impresses the reader with her strict self-discipline in terms of work. With a confined working sphere and limited types of work, she tries her very best to do a good job. Every day she rises at daybreak and works till evening without stopping. Her perfection in work drives other servants into despair. She asks for so little that a loaf of bread can sustain her for 3 weeks. She is a living embodiment of the saying that every trade has its master. She does not care how humble and menial her work is. What she cares about is whether she has done her work perfectly. Her dedication breaks down excuses from the mouths of those who are not serious about their work, and teaches the reader a lesson that you are positioned by your own attitudes rather than your surroundings. Félicité also reveals to the reader the secret to peace and satisfaction despite her difficulties and sufferings. That is, to fill your heart with love. Life is never easy for Félicité. She loses both of her parents at a young age and has been separated from her sister since then. Her first and only love story ends up in tragedy. She is hardly involved in any entertainment, but rather devotes herself to the servant job for most of her life. Surprisingly, she develops a caring and loving heart against all odds, which is the spring of all her happiness. She takes good care of Madame's kids. She is concerned and excited about Virginia's first communion and nearly faints during the process due to the imaginativeness of deep and tender feeling that makes her feel like she is actually the kid. She is seized with affection for her sister's family no matter how they are making a good thing out of her. Every time her nephew Victor comes to visit her, she eats as little as possible herself to save expense, while she stuffs Victor with food generously. She gets indignant with Madame because she calls her nephew a scamp of a cabin boy. But almost in a moment, Félicité decides to forgive her. Felicité's heart is just too simple to store hatred overnight. In a silent and subtle way, Félicité poses this question to us. Why do we bother to hate when loving and forgiving can make our lives better? Felicité's story not only points out what we lack in our lives, but also reminds us of what we already have. Faced with the unexpected, threatening blow, Félicité stays surprisingly composed. She tried to stop him by keeping up a shower of clods which blinded him to save more time for Madame and her kids to escape. She has hardly thought about herself, and the bull would have gored her if she has not managed to slip between two of the rails. Her quick wits, enormous courage, and self-sacrifice at the critical point surely make her a heroine to the reader. However, Félicité herself does not have the barest suspicion that she had done anything heroic. Her reaction brings to light what readers can neglect in their lives. You may be greater than what you see yourself as. You may have done something you take for granted, but it can mean a lot to others. You may have been a hero in other people's eyes before you even know that. So now, do you feel that you need to do something about your life? When comparing yourself to the characters in the literary world, you may often get inspirations for life in the real world. However, there is one difference. Your story is not finished yet. You can always make a change to improve it, because you are the hero of your own life.